I'm Miles Martin, and I'm explaining how I use cactus juice to stabilize and dye fossils and wood. This is a mammoth from the Ice Age, and you can see the tusks. The tusks is one of the materials that I want to stabilize. Only a little bit of the ivory that I find is in perfect shape and doesn't need any help. So here I am finding the material. You can see it's all mangled up, cracked, broken, of no use. I couldn't use it for anything. I find this way out in the wilderness where I don't have any materials to help stabilize it out there on the spot. I have to bring it back to my shop and store it and dry it very slowly. Some of it, as you can see, would be useless. There's nothing I can do with this material. I would normally have to throw it away. So I stabilize it, and while I'm stabilizing, I can put some dye in it and give it some color that gives it a little bit more value. And as you can see, this cactus juice is a liquid that you soak the material in. You can see I use aluminite as my dye. One of my secrets is I soak one end in one color and the other end in another color to give a nice blend, natural blend. And only sometimes do I vacuum it. A lot of times I just let it soak for a day, a week, up to a month, and it does the same thing as vacuuming. I call it more art than science because you never know the quality, the density of the fossils and the material you're using, so you have to kind of eyeball how it goes. So I am wrapping in foil while the item is still wet because you put it in the oven and bake it in order to harden the cactus juice. So the cactus juice has to reach 200 degrees for an hour in order to harden. I happen to use a kiln because I already own one for working my knife steel and other projects. It could be done in an ordinary oven. So I take it out of the oven and take the foil off, and as you can see, what used to be a liquid is now hard. So whatever that material is, it's now hard, and you can slice and dice it. I cut it up on the bandsaw at this point, whether it's a mammoth tooth, ivory, wood, whatever it might be. The outcome may not be as perfect as I want. I may examine the slices, and if I want to, I can re-soak and redo the whole process if I want to. You can see some duct tape around some of my projects, and that's when I use fiberglass resin to fill in the really huge gaps before I ever use cactus juice. So here I am slicing up, making a block out of a round piece, and the ends I might want to save for knife handle scales. And here I have the tip of a tusk that was falling apart. You can see more than one color. You can see the hard cactus juice on the outside. I'm inspecting it. I may not know at the time that I stabilize what it is I'm going to use this material for. I just stockpile it and come up with ideas later on. So I've sealed both ends and used a little bit of resin before I ever cactus juice on this piece. And so you could see when I slice this piece up what the finished product can look like. A lot of resin, a lot of ivory. It looks like it's got resin in it, but it's a beautiful product. It might not be worth as much as all natural, but again, take a look at how it started out. Worth nothing. You could see here is a set of knife handle scales with some nice colors, and here's a heart that I did as a special project and was able to sell. On the left here is a white ivory, and I turned some of it dark blue and black. So what's the difference between all natural and stabilized and dyed and treated? Can you see the difference? Some of these are all natural and some of them have been stabilized and dyed. And because this is more of an art form than a science, some product is going to come out a little bit better than other product, but the bottom line is I'm starting with product that isn't worth much to begin with. I mention this because I run into a lot of people that don't have a lot of money, and I say, well, buy garbage ivory and then learn how to stabilize and end up with a decent product you can work with if you can't afford the all-natural. So here are some natural fossil fangs. And here is some muskox horn that's obviously been treated. And here is some half resin, half tooth that looks okay, and it doesn't look that much different than the all-natural tooth up above here. I use the same process to stabilize Australian opal. I can get a lot cheaper if it's got some glitches in it. And I have to dry wood before I stabilize it, so I keep quite a bit on hand for almost a year drying. Here I've got some natural birch wood, but it's too soft to be able to use, so I dye and treat it. And you can see here's some soft birch, and it looks nice enough, but look at it after it's been treated and dyed. This is natural. This is the same product that's been treated and dyed. I do a little bit of experimenting. I dribbled some dye and resin all over this wood in an experiment, and you could see all the unique things you can come up with. So when wondering how deep it penetrates, here is a block that I stabilized and started with, and here it is after it's been turned and you're looking at the inside. So I've only touched on some of the very basics to help you get started. I've got a web store where I sell the finished product, the raw material, and I'm encouraging people to buy the raw material for less money. So here's my QR code that you can scan with your phone that'll take you right to my website.